Welcome to the Season 2 Heaven Burns Red guide video. In this video, I'll be going into detail with regards to accessories, but I will briefly touch on the topics of beginner early game strategy and unit tier lists as well. Without further ado, let's start. There are already many guides on how to progress early game, but here's a brief run through. For rerolling, there are two general buffers which are ideal to have, SS2 Seika and SS1 Ingxia, both of which are the best general buffers in the game and will be all you need for at least a few months. In the previous guide, I've already gone through the importance of buffs and debuffs and their importance over a good DPS, which is why these two are recommended, while the other positions are actually quite flexible. In terms of lifestone spending, there are a few places where they can be used. In the order of when they are unlocked are flashback battles, dungeon, gem flashbacks, and odd bosses. For flashback battles, it's recommended to do as many as you need to get enough XP for your units to get through the story and unlock gem flashbacks, as flashback battles will not drop 6-star accessories. After unlocking dungeons and gem flashbacks, it's then recommended to do gem flashbacks and start farming gems for accessory crafting. As for why dungeons are not recommended, Score Challenge actually gives a lot of dungeon tickets, which should be used over lifestones. However, they should still be done whenever there's time, as rings can only be obtained from dungeons. After making all the required accessories, would it only then be recommended to move to odd bosses? As for information on accessories, I'll go into more detail about them in a later section. For the unit tier list, besides the general buffers mentioned earlier, most units are actually quite viable. For debuffing, there are many S-rank Memorias which can be used in place of higher ranked ones, and any S-rank or above healer is fine to use as well. However, most elemental specific Memorias are actually SS rank and are quite hard to replace right now. On the other hand, any attacker that does that element's damage is actually viable to use in a team as the DPS. Furthermore, every unit currently in the game is added permanently to the SS Memoria pool, which is why despite missing a certain unit, there's always a chance to get it again in the future or while you are pulling for another unit. If you want a more in-depth look at a tier list, I recommend using Bakasa's Tojo files, which has a comprehensive tier list and recommended pool list, as well as a lot of information about all the Memoria and their best use. Moving on to the main part of the video, accessories are one of the strongest ways to strengthen your team. Accessories consist of rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, orbs, mementos, and charms. Thankfully, all accessories are free to move around units and can be equipped on different squads at the same time, meaning that having 6 good pieces means you don't need to make any more. For mementos, they are SS rank specific and are recommended to equip on any SS Memoria you're using. They are usually obtained either from Garden of Memory stories or from the corresponding Memoria event and are an easy way to get extra stats for that unit. Leaving orbs for later, the other accessories are all obtained from crafting using materials from gem flashbacks, with the exception of rings. Each of these accessories also have a rating, which ranges from none to +4 for rings and charms and none to +6 for earrings and bracelets, with necklaces not having this. I explain them with context to the specific accessory in the next segment. Starting with rings, they are only obtainable from dungeons and 1 ring is obtainable per run. Rings are one of the most simple accessories, with all of them providing 37 strength and dexterity, with the only variable being elemental enhancement. This elemental enhancement ranges from 4 to 10%, with 4% having a +0 rating and 10% being a +4, the maximum. However, this 6% variance is actually not extremely important. If you've seen my previous video on damage calculation, this calculation for rings is added to the same multiplier where skill enhancement is calculated, meaning that while nice for min-maxing, the final calculation will not end up changing greatly between the 4% and the 10%. However, because rings are easy to farm from dungeons with dungeon tickets, it is recommended to farm them whenever you can and get at least a +4 ring in each element for use in different elemental teams. Though it's not an extremely high priority compared to the other accessories, and having a ring for every unit in the team, no matter what rating, is probably good enough. Next are earrings. Considered to be one of the most important accessories, they are crafted from 3 elemental gems and 5 diamonds, and provide intelligence and DP, as well as varying effects depending on the type. There are 4 types of earrings that can be crafted: breaking, attacking, driving, and devastating. Breaking and attacking earrings are for increasing damage to DP and HP respectively, mainly equipped onto the main DPS. Driving earrings increase the amount of overdrive gauge gain from attacks, and devastating earrings increase the amount of devastation a unit does. The values for these increases are between 10 and 15%. In total, earrings provide 32 to 48 intelligence, 400 to 1200 DP, and 10 to 15% increase in the unique ability of the earring. Here's a table of how the rating changes depending on the values. The main reason why earrings are considered so important is because of the fact that it increases DP, a stat which is hard to get from any other source. A higher DP amount generally means a unit can take more damage, which is why it's recommended to get 1200 DP earrings for all units. In terms of which earrings to craft, your main DPS should be equipped with either a breaking or attacking earring, depending on whether their main damage skill is increased to HP or DP. Having one of each is good enough. Meanwhile, it's recommended to craft 5 devastating earrings with 1200 DP, as they would be vital to score challenges with increasing devastation and survivability. However, driving earrings would be recommended for shorter fights or dungeons where building up devastation is less important than clearing quickly and setting up for boss fights, though also not entirely necessary and can be replaced with devastating earrings in the same situation. Next are bracelets, which provide increased basic attack damage, vitality, and spirit. They are crafted only from elemental gems, 5 of the main and 2 of another element. Basic attack damage ranges from 100% to 200%, while vitality and spirit both range from 29 to 45. Here's a table to show how the ratings work for bracelets. Bracelets can be said to be as equally important as earrings as they increase the defense of the units greatly, especially with how border is calculated. It's recommended for bracelets used to at least have 38 in both vitality and spirit, though more is usually recommended. In terms of basic attack damage, it's not an important stat and can generally be ignored, as an increase in basic attack damage will not usually kill bosses faster. However, it is important to note that depending on the element of the bracelet, the base element of the basic attack will change, which might be resisted or effective against certain mobs or bosses. While initially it is best to craft whichever is easiest to craft, it is recommended to get a few usable bracelets of different elements to ensure that your basic attacks are not resisted by a boss, as that means no OD can be generated. It's also important to note that elemental attack buffs of the same element of the basic attack will also use up the buff. Lastly are necklaces, which are crafted with 5 elemental gems and 5 diamonds. While there are many different necklaces available to craft, mainly elemental ones, it is recommended to craft the general one, as there's a lot of RNG in terms of whether the initial plus 3 SP stat lands on the roll you need it for. Also, elemental skill count increase is rarely required, as you will not usually end up using the skill more than 4 times in most scenarios. While luck is not a very valuable stat, it's still better in general, which is why the general necklace is recommended. While there is RNG in the role that the necklace is for, necklaces themselves don't have any other randomized stat, which is why it doesn't have a rating. Lastly, there are charms which can also be crafted, with each different charm giving a 6 to 15 stat increase to a different stat. The ratings for charms are in this table, and they are crafted with 5 amethysts and 7 elemental gems. Compared to the accessories talked about before, charms give a much lower stat increase compared to accessories, while also being harder to get materials as the Arachne boss is more difficult. However, these stats are extremely valuable additional stats, and like normal accessories, having 6 sets of max charms means you won't have to farm them anymore. Because they are more difficult to farm, it is recommended to farm these later. However, there will be a point when you've finished farming equipment, and this is where orbs come in. Orbs are dropped from orb bosses, and each orb allows a different skill to be learned by a character. This is done by defeating the orb boss a few times, increasing the skill gauge, and once it is filled, even without the orb equipped, the character will be able to use that skill. There are only 2 orbs which are generally strong and should be used, while the rest are situational. These 2 orbs are the Impetus Orb and the Skillfulness Orb. After accessories are completed, the skills from these 2 orbs should be obtained on all characters, which will take up most of your life stones for a good amount of time if you're not doing event flashback battles. To summarize accessories, it is recommended to work on earrings and bracelets first, as they are vital survival pieces, while farming rings with dungeon tickets and then making necklaces with extra materials before moving on to charm farming. After which, farming all crafting materials will be relatively simple and will be moving on to enhancements. Enhancements allow weaker accessories to be used to strengthen other accessories, basically boosting the rating of the equipment. However, doing so is expensive, as the amount of equipment required to sacrifice is a lot, which is why it's recommended to do it after getting decent equipment and being able to farm all the bosses easily. With enhancements, it's then easy to create perfect accessories which are +6 rating, before then moving on to orb bosses to farm skills. Furthermore, all page 1 accessories except orbs have 3 unlockable extra slots, with many potential additional stats. Besides the DPS, it's recommended to get +3 vitality or spirit on all the slots, and +3 strength for accessories on the DPS. The materials to do so can be farmed in the Oblate of Tears dungeon, however this is only recommended to do so on accessories which are certain you'll keep. Also, do note that rolling for stats is quite RNG, and it might take a while to get the stat you need, which is why this is also recommended to do later, as the stat increases from these are not as large as charms or crafting good accessories themselves. This is the general flow for accessory farming, and I hope it will help people get a better understanding of what to look out for when farming accessories and the best way to progress in that journey. With regards to Score Challenge, because Score Challenge Platinum Trophy requirements have started to increase, farming good accessories is all the more vital, and hopefully, better accessories will allow you to achieve a better score in the new Score Challenges. If that's it, this is the end of the video. I'd like to credit Tojo Files because I personally used it for my own accessory farming, and I based a lot of what I say in this video on the experience of using it on my own to farm. Also, Tojo Files has a great unit tier list, so for new players starting the game, you can check out how strong your units are all in one place. Hopefully this guide has been insightful in terms of accessories, and until next video, goodbye.